Believers, listen. In every society, you have what is called a code of silence. What is a code of silence? A code of silence, the term already says it's a code, so it's a prescribed behavior. It's a behavior the group expects of you. It's a behavior of silence. Silence of what? Silence of what's going on within the group. Look, if you have a company and you're producing a product and there is a competitor out there who's also producing a similar product, then I can understand why your employees have to agree to a code of silence. That's understandable. Why? Because their jobs also depend on it. Or if you have a hospital where you have a patient who just came in, he had a gunshot wound. He was shot by some gang member. I can understand that the staff at the hospital has a code of silence that they don't leak any data of what's going on with that patient. You know why? Because let's say now that the hitman did not succeed, but now he wants to finish the job. So the hitman may call to ask information about the patient, and if he has the information, he knows, oh, he's only going to be released next Friday. Okay, then I'll wait next Friday till I see him come outside and I kill him. There are people out there that will abuse and misuse information, and this misuse and abuse will cause harm. So not everyone can be trusted with information. We know that. Okay, so for example, if you work at a bank, then you should have a code of silence as an employee, as an owner or people from the board of the bank. Why? Because, or else anyone can be scammed. Because if criminals or scam artists know a lot of data of customers, they can do a lot of weird things with it. So we understand that codes of silence have their practical use. But just because something has its practical use doesn't mean that under all circumstances it should be approved of, condoned, or even approved of. Let me explain. In some neighborhoods, in some black neighborhoods in the United States, you have a code of silence that's called don't snitch. So don't tell on any crime that happens in the streets. For example, you have Jack, black guy, stabs Joe, another black guy. Joe is in the hospital. He's likely to die of his wound. And everyone around saw what happened. And now police comes and asks who saw something, everyone remains silent. Why? Because you're not supposed to snitch on Jack. You ought to be loyal to the streets, as they call it. Hold on a minute. Is that Jack who stabbed Joe loyal to the community? No. He just unloads his anger by stabbing someone to be relieved. And he isn't even concerned about Jack, his victim, nor Jack's relatives, nor even how this impacts the community. That someone has been stabbed, so that's going to cause a trauma to the community. That's going to lead to more harm. It may even lead to businesses thinking, you know what? There's a stabbing that happened here. This may lead to retaliation. I'm going with business. And if that happens, people lose their jobs. There's going to be more poverty. He doesn't even care how his presence affects his own community. He just wants to dump frustration. And whoever gets harmed, well, it's just the way it is. So this guy is not loyal to the community. So those other blacks need to examine the situation and think, okay, so that's how you treat us? You dump yourself hatred on us and we just have to suffer and die? No. Either they tell the police, there's where Jack lives, he's the one who did it. Or if they decide, okay, we're going to deal with this without getting involved with the cops, because the cops are a bit racist. If they come here, they may even shoot other people. So even if they decide to leave the cops out, actions must be taken against this Jack. He either must be banned from the community, or has to be subjected to harsh labor. The community must put some repercussions on them for endangering the community. If they don't want to involve the legal system, because if the legal system is racial and they decide, okay, we don't want to do that. But even if the legal system is racial, so it's against blacks, then that guy, Jack, who is also against blacks because he's harming his own black community, should be given over to an anti-black institution because he's anti-black himself. Or if he wasn't anti-black, he wouldn't cause harm to his own community. Anyway, that Jack should not be left alone. Don't snitch. A code of silence that doesn't benefit anyone. Even in the business world or in government, if a situation gets way out of hand, people break the code of silence. For example, if there's money laundering going on at a bank, for example, and that money laundering is related to terrorist organizations, let's say you're an employee and you find this out, that it's going on behind the scenes. If you know this and you keep your mouth shut and you continue to work there just because you're so focused on you having a job, later, when that terrorist organization kills people out there and now they look for the perpetrators, the people at that bank are going to be dealt with. But you as an employee who was aware, if they later found out you were aware because you didn't open your mouth, you will go to prison too because you've enabled it. You've allowed harm to happen just as you could have your ease. Yes, you needed that job, but you could have got another job. Those people that were killed by the terrorist organization could have been prevented if you opened your mouth. So even in organizations, whether it's a business or whether it's an institution or whether it's government, codes of silence are conditional. And that's how codes of silence has to be. They have to be conditional. Because it's a code, it's a prescribed behavior, and any prescribed behavior has a context. For example, someone may tell you to always wake up at 8 in the morning. It's a prescription. But why? What's the purpose of waking up at 8? If you're in the military, they will tell you wake up at 8 because military exercise begins at 8:30. To do this prescription, waking up at 8 is to assist you in the program of the military training that starts at 8:30 in the morning. So that prescribed behavior has a context. Every prescribed behavior needs a context for it to make sense and for it to work out. Tell anyone randomly to wake up at 8 in the morning and they will think, okay, I woke up 8 in the morning, now what? So every code of silence is conditional. But too often in the world, codes of silence become unconditional in practice. Even if on paper it's conditional, it becomes unconditional in practice. Think about what happened in Nazi Germany. That's a very easy example, where there was an extermination program going on behind the scenes, and there were people aware of it, but they had a code of silence. People kept their mouth shut. They only spoke when they were asked to, and later, when it all came out, they said, I was just following orders. Yes, we're just following orders, but those orders were out of context. And when the context was violated, because they were exterminating people, they were not serving the German people, they were exterminating people. You're there following orders. Why? Because you're there to serve the German people, right? So if they're exterminating people, including many Germans, then they're not serving German people. And if you are there to serve the German people, and it's based on that context, or it's in this context that you follow orders, then the moment the context is gone, those orders are invalid. You say, this is not going to happen. Or someone say, well, it was the law, it was legal. Okay, but even if something is legal, does it serve the community on the long term? Does it lead to health, wealth, prosperity, and saving the community for the long run? No. Okay, so then it's only there to benefit some wealthy people or some demonic autocrat. Oh, so if that's the context and you get along with it, then you are fully participating in the destruction. So a code of silence is practical only if the context can be justified and the context is practical. Now, the example I gave of some black neighbors in the United States, it's not only those black communities. Society in itself, whether it's Japanese society or Zimbabwean society or Colombian society or British society, whatever society you're in, society itself is a code of silence. Because in society there are prescriptions that you're not allowed to question. For example, I was at a information day once for college a long time ago, and there was this Dutch guy who was saying, sometimes I hear people say jij to someone they just met, and I become annoyed. Because in Dutch, you have to say u if you don't know someone yet. And there was a Dutch girl next to me. She was a bit older. She was doing this. She was agreeing with it. And I was thinking, okay. And he even expressed his annoyance that he often felt that, well, hold on a minute, you become annoyed. So you become negatively charged. Why? Because someone doesn't follow a prescription that you were given by your parents and grandparents, which they get from their parents, their grandparents. Hold on a minute. Why do you have two words for you in your language? Can you explain that? Well, it's because of respect. Respect is validation. Why do you need to give more validation to someone that's older than you or someone you just met? Why is this validation needed? What is it that if you don't give people this validation, they lose their minds? He didn't explain that. He didn't even go into depth in it. He just said, well, this is just a prescription. So he held on to this prescription without any justification. And justification was he became annoyed. And that's how codes of silence often operate in the world. There's a prescription, people hold on to the prescription, they get acclimatized and they get used to this prescription. So because they're now comfortable with this prescription, when this prescription is not followed or not enacted, they feel it triggers them. They're now uncomfortable. Why are they uncomfortable? Because they are attached to this prescription. Well, they shouldn't be attached to this prescription to begin with. They should only use this prescription for practical reasons. The moment they hold on to a prescription, just for the sake of holding on to it, and they don't want to be challenged, no question about it, they are in idolatry. And if they become annoyed, it's all on them because they're the ones investing in that idolatry. But when people are triggered into pain, because that's what annoyance is, you are in pain. When they're triggered in pain because their idolatry is not validated, they blame the ones not validating their idolatry. So if you say jij in Dutch to someone you just met instead of u, they become upset, and now they want to say you're rude, you're not respectful. Well, what's that? So just because you don't validate the prescriptions you're holding on to, somehow they have a right to discard you, they have a right to pretend you don't exist, and have a right to think bad about you, they have a right to dump their pain on you. What is that? That's violence. There's nothing honorable about it. That's how society works. But let me tell you one thing, believer. Society, as I mentioned before, is a code of silence. And here's what happens when you don't get along this code of silence. They will come to silence you. The only ones that will get a platform, whether it's in politics or in media or in entertainment or in religion or in any type of field, even in the activist movements, which are often controlled opposition, the only ones that will get a platform are those that can be silenced by society easily. If you agree and validate the code of silence, you get the platform if you bend over enough. That's how it works in society. The moment I'm not talking about people that just act out, resist because they want to be left alone, no. Because if you operate like that, people can feel justified in attacking you because you are operating negatively. You just want to be left alone. You don't care about other people. That's not right. I'm talking about people who question constructively what's going on. If you begin to question constructively the things that are prescribed to you by society, you'll see how people will lose their minds. Thinking, why you're asking so many questions? Who do you think you are? Do you think you're so important that you can form an opinion? The accusation will come. Because it's idolatry. When Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego did not want to bow down to that golden statue that Nebuchadnezzar has built, what happened? They were told, comply or that's the oven, you're going to die. The guys not complying, so others enabled this idolatry by throwing those 3 men in the oven. Did those men kill anyone? No. Did they rape anyone? No. Did they spread an infectious, contagious disease that killed many? No. Did they psychologically harm someone? No. They committed no crime, no harm to the community. They just realized, hold on a minute, this bowing down to this statue over here is idolatry. It will turn into an obsession, And above all, it goes against the Most High. The fact that it goes against God Himself already is a red flag. So we're not going to get along with this. That is what they should have done. And what happened? They were not operating in danger. They did not endanger anyone, but now society became a danger to them. They didn't want to get along with the code of silence, so now the code of silence wants to silence them. The reason I'm making this video about codes of silence is to show you that everywhere in the world you are supposed to keep your mouth shut. That's how it goes in abusive families. You may have the father hitting the mother, but will say, hey, don't talk about it. Show honor to your parents. And if other people see it happening, they say, hey, mind your own business. Mind your own business is a code of silence. You're not allowed to mention the bad that's going on. And we are so used to those codes of silence that the world is giving us. You're only allowed to speak if people ask you something. So people have to permit you to exist. That's what it comes down to. Why do people think they have a right to permit you to exist? Who gave them the power and the right and the entitlement to even have permission to give for your existence? Listen, believers. We should not be reckless rebels that just say no and shake things off without considering other people. We should consider other people. So there are times we get along with stuff and we tolerate things for the greater good. That's fine. That's what's going on with taxes. That's going on in those mosques that become mandatory in many places lately. But there comes a point that we need to realize, no, this doesn't happen. Don't wait till the golden image is built. Don't wait till the oven is built. And don't wait till the oven is burning. Don't wait till the decree comes out. You either worship or you go into the oven. No. Anticipate all the time. Be active spiritually. So that when dangers come, you bypass them and you shut them down easily. That's how we ought to be as believers. And realize, whenever you are involved with worldly people, there is some type of code of silence that they agree with. Maybe they don't agree with all those verbal prescriptions called the respect of society. Maybe they don't agree with that you have to allow parents to abuse you because they are your parents. Maybe they do have common sense that they see this is not healthy. But maybe other things they agree with, for example, privacy, private lives, free will. So those are other codes of silences that they agree with that are equally disruptive. So just because someone does not agree with the obvious destructive codes of silence doesn't mean they don't agree with other codes of silence that are equally destructive. Because all codes of silence in the long run are destructive. We know it can be practical for business and for managing data, but that's the only purpose it should have, to manage data. That's the only reason why codes of silence should exist. The moment a code of silence endangers the population, or it enables domestic violence, or it enables any type of long-term harm in the community, or it requires victims to allow themselves to be victimized, the moment it goes that far, the code of silence should be thrown out of the window. But in the world, sadly, people keep on honoring codes of silence until it personally affects them in a bad way. It's only when the person affects them in a bad way to realize, okay, this is wrong. Unfortunately, a lot of people are like that. But don't let that distract you. Keep on agreeing with Christ and be at peace.